Peninsula. And those means of livelihood have been provided by the people and with the people and for the people. And as I said, as long as the rulers, particularly in Saudi Arabia, consider themselves to be servants of the people, I don't think there is any danger that they will face of similar types of either coup d'etats or popular uprisings that we've seen happen not just in our part of the world, but in other parts of the world and throughout history. And may I also say that all of us have much to learn from each other. And definitely the King of Morocco has been a leading light in moving Morocco to the kind of engagement between king and people that all of us should strive for. So again, I would applaud the young lady for her loyalty to Morocco, but also applaud the King of Morocco for taking those steps as he has done.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency, I'll come to you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Quran.
Well, regarding Yemen,
yes.
the initiative was delivered, prepared, based on the request from all parties of the Yemen, the people and the ruling parties. We do adhere to the principle of not interfering with the internal affairs of Yemen. The internal affairs is their affairs, and we will not ever interfere with it. We will never impose a solution to the problem. We have mediated between all parties. We reached an agreement that brought both parties together. The opposition and the ruling party have signed on the agreement, and now it's still on the table, yes, suspended, but still on the table, awaiting the approval of all parties to start and commence the execution.
Thank you. Mr. Quran.
There are actually three important points, and I would like to say one or two brief things about them. One, gender. And this is an important issue. Whatever my colleagues think here, I think this is an issue that we have to deal with. And some of the former regimes have been quite progressive in Tunisia and in Egypt about that. And there was a danger of going back on some gains for women. But it seems to me it would be very hard to go back. I just have seen a meeting of women of the Muslim Brotherhood, and that is already an important initiative. Organizations are evolving and taking into consideration the changes that are taking place on the ground. Number two, the idea about republics and monarchies. And despite all my respect for that question, we have gone beyond that division between monarchies and republics. Because some republics have been worse than monarchies. You had succession. Bashar al-Assad came after his dad. Muammar Gaddafi has been there for 41 years. The crisis in Egypt because the son of the president was about to be imposed on the people. So that idea of monarchies and republics is too simplistic. I think we should go much more for regimes that are constitutional, that respect human rights. Number three, and I want really to bring that out.
Can you hear it or not? Sorry, can you hear it? Yeah. Okay.
The Arab Spring might be a bloodbath. That is not the choice of the people who went into the streets. When my students went into the streets, the most important slogan was Silmiya, peaceful. It is the police forces that made it bloody. So this is very important. It's not the people that make the situation violent. It is police forces that make the situation violent. And this brings me to the essence of the Arab Spring. The Arab Spring is a cry for change. what do the government suggest to carry out change? And it seems to me that many of the governments have a problem. Thank you, Abdul. And this is really the challenge for many of the governments now and in the future. How to cope and adapt to change. We have the youth bulge in the Arab world. 60% of the Arab population are below 30. These are people that are different from the guys that are here. These are people that believe in social media. They are the generation of the globalization. How do our organizations, the Arab League, the GCC, can adapt to change? We are in the 21st century. Do we have to think again in terms of traditional sovereignty, of all the issues that we have been accustomed to hear about? I think this is really the cry of the Arab Spring. How do we cope with change and bring out the evolution as peacefully as possible?
Well, thank you very much indeed. I was handed a note which says not please finish, but finish in 10 minutes, underline, double underline. But before I do that, I just want to say that I hope that the monarchy will continue to survive here until I get my CBE from Her Majesty the Queen. And then it's important that, you know, I just make that cut-off point. Please, I just want to thank our speakers for 3 fascinating presentations, and to thank you for all the questions, for listening. Now, this is not the end of the discussion, because we have a picture, and the weather has been arranged for it specifically by Dr. Abdulaziz. Now, when we go out, we'll test his hypothesis about the weather. And what I'd like to do is just to ask you to join me in thanking our 3 speakers for their presentation, and also thank everybody here for listening and asking.